It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. The Titans announced yesterday that they have released offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere. NPF was drafted by the Titans in the third round of the 2022 draft and played in 34 games, starting 28. In NFL news, longtime Saints tackle Ryan Ramczyk has announced he is retiring from the NFL. Ramczyk battled a knee injury in the later years of his career and hasn't played since the 2023 season. Tennessee baseball continues in SEC play as they host Kentucky this weekend for a 3-game series. First pitch for tonight's game 1 is set for 5:30, and you can catch that game right here on The Zone following 3HL. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Good afternoon to those that are in the chat. We got the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And Blaine will start off as soon as our show was over. The Tennessee Titans made the announcement that they were releasing Nicholas Petit-Frere, the former third-round pick for the Tennessee Titans, of course, an offensive tackle, the much-maligned offensive tackle for the Titans. And then they proceeded to sign 3 offensive linemen, Sam Mustipher, Brendan James, and Oli Udo, 3 guys that have experience at center, guard, and tackle, respectively. So, I mean, I know no one's surprised that NPF got cut, but I am surprised by the timing of it, because for all his faults of NPF, he's, I think, better than these 3. I mean, that doesn't say much about them 3 either, but I mean,
I've never even heard of these guys. These are all like,
right.
backup guys who spot played. That's what I can say. They do have somewhat of experience. So as a group nucleus, center guard, tackle, probably not as much tackle, but yeah. So, I mean, they probably thought it was something they couldn't fix with the great Callahan. Wonder that. Bill Callahan, that is.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? I mean, I've seen other teams, analysts, people that cover the team say, oh, well, maybe we should take a swing on NPF because he could be a good swing tackle because he's got experience. It's hard to find starting experience in the NFL at the tackle position. And I really did think that, hey, I would have at least kept him through training camp to see if he did change anything, learn anything, add weight, do this, do that after a really terrible season in a first, under a new coach. But it seemed like they pretty much made up their mind, and I understand why. Again, it's just more of a timing thing for me because these guys don't really inspire any confidence. You signed Blake Hance over a kind of a swing offensive lineman as well, and he doesn't really do much for you. You signed him from the Jacksonville Jaguars free agency. I mean, you still have Jalen Duncan and John Ojukwu, but they're kind of the same thing. Maybe they just didn't want 3 NPFs because they're all just 3 NPFs at this point. Everybody behind the starting 5 are all just NPFs. It helps
with the salary cap, but was the timing because of that or no?
No,
it didn't matter.
I mean, because it was going to be 3.4. If they would have waited later, I think it still would have been 3.4. So I don't think it would have mattered either way.
Yeah, I do. I'm in the same camp as you with maybe he could improve. I think that's what you're trying to say there, really. And you don't know if he would have or wouldn't. They just wanted to get the bad taste out of their mouth. That's what this tells me right here. We're moving on. We're starting from ground zero. We're going to evaluate. And it doesn't matter if you're here or not. If you're underperforming, whether you're a starter, Harold Landry, to a guy who was supposedly be a starter, I did not think that ever. And then He couldn't even be a backup, even with Callahan. Then they threw him out there to the Wolves after he missed a long period of time. He had never been the same since he got suspended. Let's just be honest. The play went downhill after that. Now, could he be a productive backup? I think last year probably proved to them that maybe this is probably not going to work. We can't fix him, or maybe he's kind of somewhat a guy that's in his own head.
Yeah, could be.
MPF is no longer, and boy, have they had some bad luck over the last couple of years with these tackles from Dillard to, I mean, you name it, man.
It's a long list.
Matter of fact, I want to say, how many players? Jackson's looking at me like, don't ask me something. Players are still on the team from when JR's last year.
Okay, so I'll say this: Jeffrey Simmons, Amani Hooker, Corey Levin, Chig Okonkwo, Roger McCreary, Traylon Burks are the 6 players that were drafted by John Robinson that are still here. And I think that spans all drafts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I can't think of another guy.
And that's hence where we are where we're at.
Which is,
right
again,
there.
if you still
there.
defend John Robinson in any point, this is another example. Because guess what? You know Traylon Burks is kind of looking around thinking, oh, crap, I'm probably next. And then we're going to be down to 5.
If he wasn't injured, there would be a high stake that he may not be in, but not according to Cam Ward.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Does Traylon Burks get the benefit? Does he get the first round benefit of the doubt at this point? You think he'll make it through camp, especially at wide receiver?
I don't even think being a first rounder even matters in this case, only because he got injured.
Yeah.
He tore his ACL. Now you're an injured player that's out the window. We got to see if you can come back and be a productive player with an ACL when you weren't even really productive considering where you went in the draft.
Right.
So I don't know, man.
Let's talk about the shape issue too, right? I mean, it's a guy that even when healthy has struggled to stay in
that
football
was the first
shape.
year in my eyes.
Yeah. You think he improved in that regard?
You just never know.
Gotcha.
You don't know. But after that, I would think, here's what I'm basing off of. I think he's a good high character guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes high character guys, but I think he wanted to do right.
Right.
So that's why I say that.
Gotcha.
That's just a guess. I'm not coaching him.
Yeah.
I don't know his personality. I just think he's a good guy. I think he's a hard worker, and I think he would have tried to do what was right. Because every time he came back, he looked different. His body looked different.
Yeah.
So, he looked like he had put some work in. He kind of grew up on that side of it. And, a lot of guys take some a minute, some first year, some immediate. So I would say that about him. Yeah.
But also with an injury, I mean, how much? How can you? I guess it's more difficult to stay in shape.
Right. It is.
Especially football shape when you have an injury as severe as what he's got.
Especially lower body. So to your point, when he got injured, he sprained his knee. How much running are you doing? You can only do it in like the pool where you can, so it's hard to get and he didn't have the ripped up body type guy anyway.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't like A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf out there.
He wasn't like that. So, I
abs
think
on abs.
Maybe injury settle. Maybe he can come back and be a productive player. But, man, I would not be dependent on that at all, even at number 4.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
he needs to be fighting for that wide receiver 6 spot.
Yeah.
It's kind of where you start him off at. And then if he becomes more than that, then he becomes more than that.
Dang.
But right now, it's really easy to make the team at wide receiver 6 because I don't think that Jaquan Jackson's long for this team. You got Mason Kinsey. They just released Stanley Morgan a few days ago. I mean, to me, it's Van Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, and Bryce Oliver as your 3 guys that should make this team. But you can't even really say that about Van Jefferson, the way his contract's set up. They could easily cut him if they wanted to, but I think he's at least an NFL quality wide receiver with experience, and I wouldn't cut him.
No.
James Proche is the other guy, but again,
that's right.
But he's like a $1.9 million guy that if you drafted a returner, because they're doing due diligence on returners throughout this entire draft. They brought in a kid from UMass. They've done a lot of homework on Jamal Pritchett, a wide receiver out of South Alabama.
Yeah.
Like Bryce R in the FNM Bank chat, he says, I think I might be wide receiver 6 at this point. Like Bryce may be. And, but like you look at it and you go, okay, well, I mean, I can understand why cutting NPF, and I can understand the rationale cutting Traylon Burks, but Traylon Burks is probably your best option at wide receiver 6. You just got to make sure that you're not trying to force him to be wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 like they did the first part of the year last year.
Well, yeah, that was before the injury. I think, ACL, you just never know how some guys come back, especially at the wide receiver where you're doing a lot of herky and jerky and stopping and moving. And, man, it change direction. Your body is going one way, your knees going another way. It's just that one there. So he may be, on the non-football injury list early in the season and stuff like that. I don't know where he's at in that process.
Can't forget Colton Dow coming back from injury.
Right.
But, again, it's like you got a bunch of guys on this wide receiver room on this roster that you can't really depend on to build a team around.
Yes.
And when you have a young quarterback like Cam Ward coming in, you have to do your best to basically build around them. And wide receiver is kind of a one they went a little cheap on. And I don't think that's the way to go. You went, I'm glad you spent money, even if I don't agree with the players, or at least on Dan Moore, but I do agree on Kevin Zeitler. You spent money on the offensive line, and I think that is wise. But they seem to have a strict spending limit on wide receiver, and I find that very odd considering they don't have a third-round pick. So, why are we going so cheap at wide receiver?
Watch this. Who's the big pay receivers for the Chiefs?
Well, that's true, but they know this. I mean, you're asking Cam Ward. Yeah, you're asking Cam Ward to beat Patrick Mahomes year one. You know what I'm saying? You hope that Cam Ward can elevate.
Oh, right.
But
you got to give him something. I mean, you got to give him some help.
At least even Patrick Mahomes had Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill when he started out.
That's why you went to tight end.
Yeah.
And maybe they do. If they get an elite one, I'm all for it. If he's blue chip, and we'll understand their strategy. If they're going to go with, and this is what we need to ask the listeners, do you want to go with need in the draft, or do you want to go with the highest graded player on your board?
Let's do it. So BPA, best player available, or need. Now, listen, that could mean that the best player available is a wide receiver. But if let's say the best player available is Donovan Jackson or Colston Loveland, an offensive guard and a tight end respectively, and they're way higher rated than Jaden Higgins. Which one would you rather them go to? Because one of those, as much as they don't need offensive linemen, Donovan Jackson, hey, Kevin Zeitler's only on a 1-year deal. Right? See? And he can play left tackle, right tackle, and guard. We saw him do that at Ohio State. Well, Colston Loveland. I mean, we've seen what tight ends have done. Look at Zach Ertz for Jaden Daniels. Look at Dalton Schultz for C.J. Stroud. We've seen what tight ends have been able to do for young quarterbacks. So could Colston Loveland. And listen, I don't think either of these guys are going to be there, but that is a hypothetical of best player available at not positions of need versus a guy like Jaden Higgins, who is a tiered below those guys, but is at a position of need. So what do you do? Because let me tell you something, drafting for need rarely works in the NFL.
It can wreck you at times. So it just depends where you're at. When you're have so many holes, I don't know if you really have a wrong direction, to be honest. But
I would say guard, running back, and tight end would probably be viewed as wrong directions. At 35.
They at least got some serviceable players.
Right.
I mean, we got some serviceable players. We got other where we don't even have. I mean, you say we need to draft 3 receivers. I say 2, and we probably pick up a waiver wire guy.
Yeah.
They may draft 3 receivers.
You never know. I know. I'll say this. I think they're in draft 2 at least. But I do think that if you're a Tennessee Titan, we'll talk to this fan, and we'll talk to this about Justin Mello on Tuesday about some undrafted free agents. Jamal Pritchett's a guy you need to have on your radar. He's a guy that was down at the Senior Bowl. He's a returner. I think he led in the I think he led in NCAA in yards after catch per reception and yards after catch, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look that up. But he's a smaller guy, but he's a guy that they're doing a lot of due diligence on returners. And that doesn't mean that I think they're going to draft one. I think that means that, hey, in undrafted free agency, these are the guys you need to be kind of looking at. When we come back, we'll go around the NFL with Jordan DeJaney, talks about some of the latest rumors and about his guy, Aaron Rodgers, his comments that he said on Pat McAfee. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Stores. 615-737-1045 is the number. So here's the question. It's not, if best player available ends up being a wide receiver or edge rusher, then you take him. Obviously, you'd take him because those are your best player available. The question is that if the best player available on the board is maybe even defensive tackle, if it's tight end, offensive guard, or even offensive tackle, do you still go best player available, or do you go a tier down on the big board and take a guy like a Jaden Higgins or something like that that's a tier down? That is the question we're presenting to you, to the fans. So you guys think on that while we go to the phones.
Yeah, like Luther Bird's not there.
Yeah,
but
Luther Bird's not there.
And he go, but we want a receiver.
Are you reaching for Kyle Williams? Because everybody is talking about Kyle Williams, and he's a third-round guy.
Yeah.
But are you going to reach him at 35? That's the question. So you guys marinate on that. You guys think about it, okay? And we're going to go around the NFL with Jordan DeJaney of CBS Sports. Jordan, I just want to start off. We're less than a week away of the NFL draft. How you feeling?
What's going on, friends? Always good to be on the airwaves with you at 104.5 The Zone. I am excited. I'm a little nervous. This is like one of the heaviest workload weeks of my entire year. Someone lied to me when they said there was such thing as an off season, but it is extremely exciting. I think the NFL draft is one of my favorite events in sports. It keeps you guessing from opening night to days 2 and 3. So I'm absolutely optimistic, and I'm excited to see what happens.
All right, Jordan, your guy, your bud, your favorite person, Aaron Rodgers, went on Pat McAfee's show the other day, talking about the Steelers, talking about the Jets. How sick are you of seeing him on the airwaves?
Man, didn't you guys miss having to watch 45 minutes of the Pat McAfee show for work-related reasons? Fun stuff, right? But I'll tell you this. I mean, what we learned was that Aaron Rodgers is dealing with personal issues and issues that people in his close circle are dealing with, which he says is a reason why he has not signed yet. And I think what's more interesting is that we also learned from that interview with Pat McAfee is that he does not like Aaron Glenn, the new head coach of the New York Jets. I think that was one of the more interesting parts of the interview. And this came right from his mouth, is that when Glenn asked him if he wanted to play football in 2025, Rodgers responded by saying, quote, "Yeah, I'm interested." That's not a definitive yes. That doesn't sound like a player motivated to light the football world ablaze with a Tom Brady-like revenge tour. Like, Aaron Glenn probably knew he was moving forward with a different quarterback, but that answer was definitely not what he was looking for. So I know it's a joke that Aaron Rodgers is my favorite person. If he ever was, he's certainly falling down my power rankings of friends. Because that was a long interview, and I feel like we didn't exactly learn much. It doesn't seem like he's in a hurry to sign with any specific team. And if he's waiting until up to the draft, after the draft, you have to wonder if the Steelers are going to shift course and start really doing their due diligence when it comes to potentially trading up for a quarterback in the first round.
Well, hopefully they do not trade up for Tyler Shuck, but one head coach, anonymous head coach, says he'd take Tyler Shuck over Cam Ward as the number 1 quarterback in this class. And I want to reiterate again, Tyler Shuck's agent deserves all the award and all the money for the work he's putting in. I mean, he is the hardest working man or woman in the NFL for sports agency business, because getting a head coach to even anonymously say something as ridiculous as this is wild. What were your thoughts when you heard that?
Well, my first thought was, who was the head coach? Like, we got to take bets. There's 32 men around the NFL. Which one is crazy enough to say something like that?
Who has the hottest seat? That's who it is.
Yeah, exactly right. No, and my other thought was, if I was talking to an NFL coach and he told me that, I don't even know if I would print it, because he clearly doesn't trust me. He's just giving me the runarounds with a quote like that. So that was one of the more interesting quotes I've seen in a long time, to be honest. But, I mean, there is a part of me that loves Tyler Shuck, okay? The arm talent is evident. He's got the frame that you want from a quarterback. The problem is he's 35 years old, and he's suffered a ton of different injuries during his long, prestigious college career. He was in the same recruiting class as Trevor Lawrence back in the day. So right, I do think that they're – yeah, he's going to be 26 his rookie season. Early in the season, he turns 26. So I do think that there is a certain level of love for a prospect like Tyler Shuck. But is he going to go first round? No. I feel comfortable saying that he probably will not be going in the first round.
So there's a photo of Tyler Shuck from when he, I guess, got into a game at Oregon, I believe in his second season at Oregon. And there you can see Jawan Johnson, the New Orleans Saints tight end, who is now on the field with them, who is on his third NFL contract. That is wild to think. And think about this, just a little bit more Tyler Shuck slander here. When he ends up if he were to go in the first round, this is why I don't think he'll go in the first round. If he were going to go in the first round and you wanted that fifth-year option, he will be 31 by the time that fifth-year option comes up. That is wild to think about. Think about that for a second. He'll be 31. Or 30 when you have to make the decision, but 31 when he's going to, if you choose to enact it. So I just don't know about this Tyler Shuck stuff. But I love a good conspiracy theory. And you have one that you wrote about, and I love it. It says NFL draft rumors, likely top 5 pick Mason Graham seen wearing shirt of NFL team during workout. Did Graham just spoil where he will be drafted? Talk about what was on the video and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so this story actually really upset me because groupthink is a real thing and when it comes to NFL draft pundits, right? And I hated looking at every single mock draft from every single company around the world and having Mason Graham go number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I was creating my mock when I saw this story, and I was going to have the Jaguars take someone crazy like Tet McMillan at number 5 and really create some headlines. But I can't do that when we have a coach, Brandon Jordan, who is a pass rush specialist, I believe, who posted a video on social media of doing drills with Mason Graham, and he is literally wearing a Jaguars shirt, a Jacksonville Jaguars shirt. Now, of course, the coach realized this and ended up deleting the video, but it was up long enough for the internet to take notice. And, of course, screenshots and videos made their rounds around social media. So I think that just kind of cements the fact that, listen, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been doing their homework with Mason Graham. He fits a need with that team. With him wearing that shirt, you also have to keep in mind the Jaguars don't believe in 30 visits. So it's not like Mason Graham took a trip down to Jacksonville and toured the facilities and was given all this free swag from the personnel. He got that shirt from somewhere else. So, yeah, I think that it's probably a good bet to say Mason Graham is going number 5 overall.
We're going around the NFL with Jordan DeJaney of CBS Sports.
Whoa, go back here. You said Jordan DeJaney. Jordan DeJaney. Jaguars don't do 30 visits?
Yeah, James Gladstone is their new general manager, and I don't think just like the Los Angeles Rams where he comes from, they don't bring the prospects in for those specialized visits that most NFL teams do.
Oh, man. Well, okay. Well, I didn't know that's good information to know. How many quarterbacks do you think are going to go actually in the first round?
Yeah, this is a great question because we just saw, I think Jackson Dart is no longer attending the draft, but Jalen Milroe is attending the draft. And there's a big conspiracy theory with the NFL. And do they like having the drama of prospects kind of fall out of the first round or fall down the draft board? Or is that something they're actively trying to stop, to preserve the feelings of the prospects coming into the NFL? I kind of lean on that side. That's why the green room has been getting smaller and smaller over the years, in my opinion. I'm going to set the line at 3. I think that 3 end up going with Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and then that third, it's going to be a conspiracy theory, either Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. Right now, I have Jackson Dart as my QB3. So in my mock, for example, I actually had the Philadelphia Eagles trading out of their first-round pick at number 32 overall, the Las Vegas Raiders jumping some quarterback-needy teams like the New York Giants, like the Cleveland Browns, and selecting Jackson Dart at number 32 overall.
I'm hearing rumors. I don't know if it's just rumors. You know how it is with the draft that, the Baltimore Ravens are shopping Mark Andrews. Just so happened he dropped the ball there in the playoffs. But what would you think he would gather on the open market if you were the Titans?
Yeah, I don't think he would come too expensive at all. I mean, we're talking about something like a mid-round pick and maybe a pick swap within day 2 or day 3. I don't think he'd be very expensive at all. And the reason there's so much speculation is because the general manager came out and basically said, you can't predict the future when it comes to the future of a player on his roster in regards to Mark Andrews. I don't think it's because he dropped that ball in the playoffs, but he is an aging player, and you have a guy like Isaiah Likely who is so versatile, can in some ways revolutionize your offense. So if you were to ask me for a list of players who could potentially be traded during the NFL draft, not just night one, but day 2s and 3, I would certainly keep Mark Andrews in mind for sure.
Well, I guess lastly, I know since you have a law background, joking, what's going to happen here with L'Jarius Sneed and this issue with this gun? I mean, what would you expect to happen here? A lot of people think he's going to get suspended. I don't know if there's even enough evidence, but I don't know the details of all that's going on with all the redactions there. So what would you guess is going to happen here?
Right. I mean, you bring up a great question. And I'm curious why the rest of the NFL world is not talking about this story. Like an NFL player or allegedly his assistant orchestrating a drive-by, like basically attempted murder. The 2 men, including L'Jarius Sneed, according to the report, were even arrested for this. But the story only comes to light after the civil lawsuit is filed. And there's a lot of things to really dive into here. We could spend an hour on it, but 2 things kind of stood out to me. Like, why is virtually the entire police report redacted? And maybe a lawyer can answer that for me, because I am certainly not a lawyer, but does that mean a criminal investigation is ongoing? And then number 2, the alleged victim's lawyer talked about how aggravated assault is a part of a pattern of behavior when it comes to L'Jarius Sneed. What does that mean? Paul Kuharsky, I believe, wrote that he got the vibe at the Combine that the Titans weren't thrilled with Sneed. So you have to wonder what's going on off the field with L'Jarius Sneed. And, of course, we know the struggles with his on-field performance in regards to staying healthy and his knees. So it's hard for me to guess what exactly is going to happen because we do not have plentiful details about what exactly happened. The only thing we have is a civil lawsuit. I mean, given the circumstances, it almost sounds like a suspension would be coming, and you have to believe that the NFL is doing the groundwork behind the scenes looking into the situation. Right now, I feel like it is way too early for me to predict what's going to happen with this situation.
There you have it. Jordan DeJaney, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
I thought it was interesting. Puka Nacua has been in the news for several different things recently, some comments that he has made. And one of the comments was about X's and O's, acceleration versus deceleration, slowing down, all that kind of stuff. Really great information. But then he goes and says that he believes that the 49ers windows closes if Brock Purdy gets $50 million per year. I mean, that's a bold statement from a guy that you have to see, 2 times a year, and you're kind of pocket watching what another team does. I mean, what do you think about that comment?
Yeah, it's just not another team. This is a rival. This is a star wide receiver within your own division. You often don't see that other players talking about other players' contracts and saying, no, that would be too much. This dollar value is too much. And then going as far as to say, if he gets this benchmark, then guess what? The 49ers Super Bowl window is closing. That is a very bold stance from a player who shares the division with Brock Purdy. But I think he brings up a kind of an interesting question because what is Brock Purdy worth? And, without knowing any kind of the numbers, would you say Brock Purdy deserves to be in the top 10 of highest paid quarterbacks? The answer would probably be yes, because he's a younger quarterback. He's not the youngest quarterback, of course, but he's due an extension. And anytime you're due an extension, you're fighting for market value. So Brock Purdy's camp has the right to fight to be in the top 5. I think that top 10 would be more doable. But here's the thing. Keep in mind that we now have 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that are making over $50 million a year. So is Puka Nacua saying that Brock Purdy becoming the number 10 highest paid quarterback automatically closes the 49ers Super Bowl window? No, I don't think that's exactly what that means. But as you read on in the article that I wrote for CBSSports.com, it's kind of interesting that Brock Purdy has a losing record as a starter when any member of his Big Five does not suit up. His Big Five includes Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel, of course, is no longer with the team. So we've all talked about how Brock Purdy is not the engine that makes the offense go. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Patrick Mahomes. How much talent does he really need around him, from the offensive line to the running back to the receivers, for the 49ers to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender? And I guarantee you these are the questions that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are weighing behind the scenes.
What is going on with Derek Carr? The shoulder injury that was there, I guess, during last year is now going to keep him out maybe the entire year this year. And, there was the time that, he didn't want to take a pay cut and he was going to force their hand and all this kind of stuff. Like, what is he holding them hostage? Because that's kind of what it feels like. But again, they got the 9th overall pick, so maybe they'll just draft a quarterback.
Yeah, I can't exaggerate how weird of a story this is.
So
it comes
weird.
out of nowhere, and there's no details with the injury either. All we've heard is that he has a shoulder injury that will threaten his availability for the season. Like what? When did he suffer it? What kind of shoulder injury is it? What kind of options are available? What does this change with the Saints' game plan at the quarterback position? And as you mentioned, they restructured his deal, which kind of guaranteed that he would be in the fold for 2025. So, yeah, I mean, my initial thought was, okay, well, New Orleans is automatically going to be in the running for a quarterback at number 9. Maybe that's where Shedeur Sanders ends up. But there's some reporting on the other side indicating that the Saints could pass on Shedeur Sanders and roll kind of moving forward with the guys they already have in-house that they've drafted and attempted to develop as well. So you ask a good question. I don't know if Derek Carr is holding them hostage and looking for a change of scenery all of a sudden, or if the Saints are kind of doing the opposite thing as well. So really weird story, and I really do think that it's going to affect what we see happen on opening night.
I think the Browns may have said the smartest thing they've ever said recently. They said that they would put Travis Hunter at wide receiver first and then consider him at defensive back later. It really seems with the Ohtani comparisons by the GM Andrew Berry and other statements he made that Travis Hunter feels like a lock for that number 2. Is that all smoke? Or do you really think that Travis Hunter is going to be a wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns come draft night?
Yeah, I can't say with 100% certainty it's not smoke, but Travis Hunter is arguably the best player in this entire class, regardless of position. And I was kind of happy to hear that the Browns view him as more of a receiver, because going back even over a year ago, the first expert I talked to about Travis Hunter and his NFL fit, like what position would he be? The answers I kept getting back were cornerback. And I was like, man, when I watch this guy, he's really good at both positions, first of all, but I feel like he can be a really special wide receiver, and that is even more of a premier position in today's NFL. That is where I want to see him play the most. When I watched Colorado play football, I was excited to see Travis Hunter make plays at wide receiver as opposed to defensive back. I think a lot of the reasoning went into it's a lot easier to be a part-time receiver compared to being a part-time defensive back. But at the same time, if Travis Hunter is going to be your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1, what he can do is kind of fit in with a nickel package or a dime package in Cleveland's defense, which is kind of the most ideal situation I would like to see as a football fan for Travis Hunter. So, yeah, I mean, you can't trust anything these general managers are saying. I'm not even fully convinced the Titans are not going to trade the number 1 overall pick at this juncture, but it does seem like Travis Hunter is a good fit for the Browns at number 2.
Patrick Peterson, former first-round pick of the 2011 NFL draft by the Arizona Cardinals, recently retired. He's a 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. Seems like a lock for the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, one thing about Patrick Peterson is that he, as a rookie, he made an immediate impact. I think in his first NFL game, he ran a punt back for a touchdown. He had another highlight in his rookie season where he had an interception and then returned a 100-yard punt for a touchdown in overtime to win the game for the Cardinals. An incredibly consistent player, an outside boundary cornerback that we really viewed as one of the best in the game for such a long time. He's one of the best to ever do it, in my opinion, if we're ranking him. So I would say that he's definitely a Hall of Famer. Congrats to him on a prestigious, incredible career.
Yeah, the first 8 years being in the NFL, he got a Pro Bowl every year. In his rookie year, he was an All-Pro. Third year, All-Pro. And then that would be his 5th year, also the All-Pro. Okay. So, I mean, and then we're talking about a guy that was durable. He hadn't missed a game from 2011 to 2018, never missed a game and had a Super Bowl appearance on top of that. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. I mean, seems like a Hall of Famer right there.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. But on the way out, Mount Rushmore, the last 10 years, who's your Mount Rushmore for quarterbacks?
Oh, for quarterbacks.
Mm.
The last 10 years, geez, Tom Brady,
yep.
Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes,
yep.
And I got who else should it be? Give me a couple options.
I mean, like Will
Lamar Jackson,
Yeah,
Josh Allen.
We got
Give
Philip
me Lamar
Rivers, Ben
Jackson.
Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan. Those guys are there too.
Yeah.
Nah. Give me Lamar Jackson, the versatility, the dual threat ability, perennial
2
MVP
MVPs,
candidate. Yeah.
Drew
I'll take
Brees.
Lamar Jackson.
Oh, Drew Brees.
Drew
is good.
Brees.
Yeah, I'll stick with Lamar Jackson.
All right.
All right.
There you go.
There you go.
Jordan DeJaney of CBS Sports. We appreciate Jordan and looking forward to the NFL draft.
Absolutely, guys. Can't wait. Talk to you next week.
Appreciate it.
That was a great ending question with the Mount Rushmore. I may need to think on that because again, if we're just talking the last 10 years, are we factoring their entire career or the last 10 years of the play?
Oh, because it could be Aaron Rodgers.
Because then you got Aaron Rodgers in there too. Got to really talk about this. So we're going to have to hammer this out a little bit. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Struggling with joint pain, suffering from a recent injury, looking to recover faster after surgery? Well, at Edge, we've got you covered. From powerful peptide stacks like BPC 157 and TB 500 to PRP treatments, stem cell therapy, and high film muscle stimulation, Edge Peptide is your go-to solution for faster healing and recovery. And as an athlete myself, I know how frustrating pain and injuries can be. That's why now is the perfect time to take control of your wellness and finally address those nagging issues. Whether it's golf, tennis, or any activity you love, don't let pain hold you back any longer. And Edge specializes in regenerative treatments designed to reduce inflammation, promote tissue repair, and improve mobility, helping your body heal naturally while avoiding surgery whenever possible. And right now, we're offering a free $250 consultation with your initial treatment. And all you have to do is just go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can give them a call today at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. And you had asked Jordan DeJaney over the last 10 years, who would be your Mount Rushmore of quarterback class, or the quarterbacks. And I came up with mine during the break. We excluded Peyton Manning because he retired after the 2015 season. So, I mean, that you only got one season and it wasn't his best season.
Right.
So I went Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, Lamar.
Yeah, that's about right. And then
With the honorable mention of Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, and I would say also, I got to put Josh Allen in there.
Yeah, Josh Allen be an honorable mention as well.
Yeah.
Would you put them on their faces on the back of the Mount Rushmore, like that faces Canada?
No. I'll just put them down at the bottom.
Gotcha.
Hey, they were kicking at the door, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, Peyton's not in that equation because he retired right that year. So, yeah, I think that's a good group. And, really and what made me think of that was he was talking about Aaron Rodgers. And I think what happened with Aaron Rodgers when he said that, because first of all, that would have kind of surprised me too as a head coach. Like, I'm interested. Well, wait a minute. Are you interested or are you all in? Like, I want to hear, some excitement. Yes, I'm here for you, coach. Like, I didn't get any of that. So maybe he felt disrespected because he flew on his own dime all the way to, like you can afford it, from Malibu to New York to have this 15-minute meeting. And really, he said he could have, done it over the phone. And I get it. But I think on the other hand, some coaches want to do it face-to-face, especially a new head coach.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have any problem with it.
What's funny is that Twitter always finds something, right?
Well, in 2013, I know what he did. He said, I'd rather
meet in person.
Be in person. So,
always.
That's why I don't tweet. Yeah, see, right there, you go back and track, see? Yeah.
Listen, they will find you. Yeah. They'll find whatever they need to find on that internet.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, he's a lose-lose. And I don't know what's going on personally, but in his interview, he also kind of hinted around like this wasn't about money. And like, I'm just projecting what he's thinking. Like 10 million, like I think he would play for it. So I don't know what's going on.
Does that change your mind for the Titans' perspective?
No, he's not good for the locker room and all that. When you're trying to build something, but the money doesn't change. It's just that I was expecting him, with him and what he's done in this league, to probably expect a little bit more than that. I think he would have, but he didn't. It was all personal, and I'm interested to see if he's going to retire or eventually sign with the Vikings or the Steelers. Man, I think it's all up in the air. The way he sounded, it was perplexing for me. Like, I don't know. He may be done. Like, and I don't know what's going on personally in his family or what's in his circle. I think is what he said. I don't know. It must be something really serious.
Let's go to Bobby, who wants to give us his Mount Rushmore. Bobby, you're on Blaine and Zach.
I got Brady, Roethlisberger, Josh Allen, and you would have to consider Cam Newton in there with that 15-1 season 2015.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
What do you think, Jackson? Got something to say about that?
We appreciate it, Bobby.
Better watch out, Cam's listening.
I'm a big Cam Newton fan. I would not put him on my Mount Rushmore.
The last 10 years.
Yeah, because
that 2015 season was the 15-1 season, by the way.
Did he win MVP?
He did. He's got a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, 2015 MVP, 2 MVP awards, Pro Football Writers Association and the Associated Press. And he also not only won the MVP, but he also won Offensive Player of the Year as well in that 2015 season.
That was one heck of a year.
He also won the 2015 Burt Bell Award, whatever that is.
How different is the narrative around Cam if they win that Super Bowl over the Broncos?
If he would just dive on that ball, the narrative is probably different.
Ball, yeah. That was there more because I was sitting there going, "What are you doing?"
I couldn't believe it.
I was stunned.
I was rooting for the Panthers too.
Yeah, I thought they would win that game. Yeah.
But, I mean, that's a good one. Ben Roethlisberger, I mentioned it.
Ben.
Ben, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, they were all kind of right there, too.
Whoa, we're forgetting my cousin.
Who? I was trying to think of who it was.
Russell Wilson.
Oh, Russell Wilson. I was like, who?
What do you have my third cousin, man? What are you doing?
Russell Wilson's a good one.
I don't know. I think he's honorable mention.
Yeah, Stoney Keeley and the F&M Bank channel, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. That 2015 season had people asking if Cam Newton was the LeBron James of football. I mean, like,
Oh, my.
I mean, who would be on your Mount Rushmore? Is it Josh Dobbs?
Josh Dobbs,
Hendon Hooker.
Nathan Peterman, Hendon Hooker,
Oh, Nathan Peterman.
Jarrett Garantano, and there's only 4, right?
Yeah, there's only 4. But in reality, who is your 4 Mount Rushmore quarterbacks since for
Tennessee?
2015?
Brady, Lamar, Mahomes. I feel like I got to throw an NFC guy in there because it's all AFC right now. So I'm going to go Russell Wilson.
I mean, I wouldn't dispute
Brees.
Russell Wilson. Drew Brees, yeah.
Drew Brees, I feel like it tailed off, though. If we're talking about the 2010s as a whole, Drew Brees is on there.
Gotcha.
But with 2015, that's kind of the tail end of his career.
Gotcha.
Well, we just looked at is actually like 2018 or 2019. But that, I mean, again, that still leaves a couple years where he kind of tailed off. But, man, there was, listen, we've talked about it all the time, but there were some great quarterbacks that came through this league recently, and, you know, it was really hard to do. Okay, so listen, we've been talking about it. Best player available, easy for me to say, versus need. We're going to talk more about that when we come back, because this also ties into my other question. What is in your opinion, what is the least exciting thing coming up in this NFL draft? And what's the most exciting thing about this upcoming NFL draft? We're going to talk about that as well. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
It is 1:59. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. The Titans announced yesterday that they have released offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere. NPF was drafted by the Titans in the third round of the 2022 NFL Draft and played in 34 games, starting 28 of those. In NFL news, longtime Saints tackle Ryan Ramczyk has announced he is retiring from the NFL. Ramczyk battled a knee injury in the later years of his career and hasn't played since the 2023 season. Tennessee baseball continues in SEC play as they host Kentucky this weekend for a 3-game series. First pitch for tonight's game is set for 5:30, and you can catch that game right here on The Zone following 3HL. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. I was kind of like, man, we don't have really a lot of news to talk about today. You know, a lot of topics and all this kind of stuff. We had NPF, and that was it. And so I went to On3's timeline to see if there's been any news or recruits or this or that sign, like Gio Lopez has committed to the University of North Carolina, former South Alabama quarterback. They entered the transfer portal at the same time that Nico did. And I wasn't really looking to talk about Nico today. So I feel like we've talked a lot about Nico, but 3HL is going to have Pete Nakos on, who writes for On3, who broke the story, who got lambasted by Nico's dad and this other guy, this other guy from Florida cannot keep his mouth shut. Have you can you pull up do you have the tweets available for that? You get those ready and we'll go to that. But he quote tweeted something that Lane Kiffin said and then still acted like this is all made up lies or whatever. It's insane. This guy from Florida, his name escapes me. But he just released this article, or really released it, I guess, about 5 hours ago, but this is the first time I've seen it. He says, as quarterback market tightens, Tennessee still evaluating options. And he's talking about stuff that happened with Nico. He says, talks about Steve Angeli, the Notre Dame transfer, but he's currently not viewed as a top target for the University of Tennessee. And he goes, meanwhile, sources tell On3 that quarterbacks in the ACC and Big 12 received pay raises this week to keep them at their respective schools. So obviously Tennessee's sniffing around, maybe.
Did
allegedly.
I not say that, Jackson?
You did say that. And he said programs can't. This is what he said after that. Programs can't afford to lose starters with less than 5 months before the season. He says that it goes up and follows it with a Big Ten school is working through the details of a new contract with its starting quarterback, too. So quarterbacks that maybe teams would be sniffing around, not necessarily saying Tennessee is, are getting pay raises or getting paid. And he then goes into this, says Iowa State quarterback Rocco Beck, who has been rumored to be a Tennessee target, shared on Friday that he donated entertainment systems with a portion of his NIL earnings to all the pediatric rooms at a local hospital in Ames. Sources have told On3, Steve Wiltfong, and I that Beck is happy with the Cyclones. So there's another guy that maybe was a Tennessee target, a rumored Tennessee target that they're not going to be able to get.
It'd be hard.
The thing that was really wild was the quotes in here. It's effing wild. I would be sweating if I was Tennessee, a Power 4 general manager told On3. Tennessee might need to call someone and pay them $4 million just to get a quarterback. I love what they did off principle with Nico. So the principle is there, but principles can only take you so long. Yeah. Now the Volunteers still have 2 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster: redshirt freshman Jake Merklinger and early enrollee George McIntyre. The options remain for Tennessee to land a depth piece in the portal, but who that could be remains unclear. Pickings are slim at the moment. someone goes, I'd give it a couple more days. They had to have seen it coming. Another Power 4 general manager told On3, I don't think they're going after Steve Angeli. So all this to say, I've heard a lot of talk that at least, he's a good recruiter, good quarterback recruiter, talking about Josh Heupel. Well, now he's going to prove it because neither of these guys are transfer guys. And we saw that Nico didn't really take the steps that you need him to take because he was the first really recruited quarterback to play for Josh Heupel. So to me, if I'm Josh Heupel or Tennessee, I'm rolling with one of these guys these two scholarship quarterbacks. And maybe that's what their plan is. And maybe they're not in any of this mess. But even though they were rumored to be with Rocco Beck, but maybe that's what they need to be doing is roll with these guys and let these guys that they recruited be the quarterback and let the best man win and be the quarterback for Tennessee.
Or and you then go sign a more or less a guy like, I'm not, the Notre Dame kid, but not him, but a guy at least has some experience so for you have a safety valve. You're not even, you give him $1 million, okay, he's not the starter. But yeah, I think they have to stay in-house. It's too late. That's why I said everybody was worried about Nico. Forget about Nico. Bye. See the door when you go. But who are you going to get? Are you going to roll with what you got? And with the way this system is set up that he runs, I would lean into that he's going to have to go with Mertlinger. Is that his name? Right?
Yeah.
And that's probably the best.
Merk Slinger, because he throws the ball.
Oh, my, stop that. So I bet that's probably what's going to happen. And I said a couple of days ago that now all these guys that they're going to have to behind-the-scenes recruit, they're going to get pay raises because they're not going to leave where they're at for $500 million just extra because they're in a situation where, dang, am I able to go right in and learn the system and be productive for 1 year? Man, why don't I just stay here? So they're learning the game right now at the pro level. Grass is not always green on the other side when they offer you more money.
Well, earlier this week, Dan Moore was brought up as an example on Ramon, Kayla, and Will as the market's the market. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes Nico's asking for more money because the market has shifted. Mm-hmm. Well, now Tennessee, let's use that same example.
Right.
Because now Tennessee says right here, by a Power 4 general manager, Tennessee might need to call someone and pay them $4 million. So it's $4 million. Now you're overpaying for a guy that may just be average.
Yeah. Or
kind of like Dan Moore. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly like what the Saints did. So, or less than even what Nico was.
Yeah.
And then now that's not where you want to be.
Or what Nico could have been.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's a lose-lose situation, and that's exactly what Jackson has said. You have said, I have said. This has felt like a lose-lose situation from the get-go.
The whole way around. And that's why I would have met him in the middle. Yeah. I would have. I would want to win more than being right. And when I say win, I want to get my player here, and I think we got something to work with, and we can then hopefully do more damage than we did this past season, and maybe, give him a $500,000 bump or whatever. Sometimes you got to submit that, dang it, he got me. They got us. It's okay. Yes, and then you keep it moving, and then you can work on that plan after the coming season, regardless of what he does or not.
Yeah, I'm with rookie 18. And I think this is the best course of action instead of overpaying for an average quarterback is you have to let Merklinger and McIntyre battle out because you do have, right now, you have Fajon Brandon is coming next year anyway. Right. So you never know what's going to happen in the NIL. If he changes his mind, will ask for more money, what's going to happen then? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think that's the best case instead of paying for $4 million for a guy that's not as good as Nico.
I wouldn't do that. I would pay a guy.
Now, if you get like a Sam Levitt, maybe, but even then, I'm just not. I don't know if Sam Levitt's that much better than Nico.
Right. Well, what I'm thinking is now
Jackson is begging to get in on this conversation.
No, I know. What I was thinking. Okay, go ahead.
They're going to get somebody. They can't just roll with two scholarship quarterbacks.
Right, but what we're saying is that you don't need to find a starter at this point. Your starter needs to be Merklinger or McIntyre.
I think it's going to be a three-way battle. It's going to be a transfer portal quarterback.
I feel like you're just wasting everybody's time because he's not going to be as good as these two guys.
How do you know that?
Well, I'm not
You don't- I mean,
Merklinger
we don't
because
know.
he's not been in the system.
I think Merklinger has a head start, but
Yes.
if the other two, I think George McIntyre is more talented than Jake Merklinger.
But do you think that Steve Angeli is the guy that comes in and you're like, we need to have a three-way battle?
Did you think Hendon Hooker was going to start over Joe Milton?
Yes.
I did.
yeah.
I did
I
not.
said it the whole time. Because talent isn't always the best trait, and that's what everybody looks at. It's what's in between your brain. We got one on the team right now. Levis is just like that in the pros.
Yeah.
He's got all the arm talent, but he ain't got what it takes in the head.
Yeah,
So that's the measurement.
we need to see that measurement in the offense.
Right.
I mean, a guy that can even win the quarterback job, even the backup quarterback job at Notre Dame, is that the guy that you really?
He's
if
not the
he's-
quarterback. He's not the quarterback that's coming.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I asked you, though, specifically, if it was Steve Angeli, do we even need to waste anybody's time? I'm not saying that he is coming, but if it's a
I mean,
quarterback like that, I feel like
that.
you're wasting everybody's time.
They're going to. They're going. It's going to be. They're going to.
See, now you're
But
doing
that's
something
but
just
that's
to do.
messing with the development of one of your quarterbacks at this stage of the game. And this is the same for NFL teams, right? Because we kind of talked about the splitting of reps at practice and all this kind of stuff. You need to be zeroing in on a starter, whether it's Merklinger or McIntyre. If you have the balls to bring in a guy and you make him the immediate starter because you paid him $4 million, good for you. If it's Sam Levitt, that's fine. Figure out who your guy is sooner rather than later instead of going through this thing. Because, I mean, Steve Angeli cannot. I mean, I would just be so surprised if he came in and looked better than Merklinger or even McIntyre, who even has even a shorter amount of time in this scheme, but has time in this scheme. I would just be so surprised. Why waste your time with the three-way battle at that point?
Because they need three
If
quarterbacks.
it's that quality of quarterback, though.
I don't know.
Not waste your time at rostering one, but waste your time with a three-way battle, split reps for the first team three ways.
It's probably how you get a guy here.
Man, what a mess.
Because
I mean, like that just go back to that. It feels like it's a mess.
the reason Steve Angeli is leaving Notre Dame is because he has no chance of being the starter.
Right, he lost out in the
So if he's going to go to Tennessee, he's going to have a chance to be the starter.
Oof.
From his perspective, he's already
From
in
his perspective, for
he's
sure.
already in the portal, right?
Yes.
Now, how happy would the fans be to get a guy who couldn't even start at Notre Dame?
Probably not too happy.
I mean, it's a mess, right? I mean, like, doesn't that? I mean,
they botched
what-
this. I'm telling
Jackson,
you,
what do
man.
you're a Tennessee fan. Is
They were
Joseph in there?
playing checkers,
If Joseph is in there, I
And this
excuse
is
not.
chess,
Okay.
man. They better.
Well, I mean, where do you land on? I mean, what quarterback do you think that they could give me three quarterbacks that you think that maybe they would be interested in bringing in?
me
Not
a
Steve
second.
Angeli, because we've talked about Steve Angeli. But the reason I asked that is because don't you, as a volunteer, and you recruited these other guys, they're on scholarships. I would just rather roll with them because you do have Fajon Brandon coming next year. And let's say that something wild happens, which it can happen, and he doesn't come here next year, right? Well, at least you got two guys with one of these guys with now starting experience that you can lean on and hope to grow that you recruited. Like legit recruited, not transfer portal recruit.
Mhm.
So like that's just kind of where, that's just kind of where I'm at. I just don't think Steve Angeli feels like the answer.
Mm-mm.
Because isn't Notre Dame's offense just wildly different than this offense anyway?
They're gonna have to let Merklinger and McIntyre battle out. And then
And it may not be
McIntyre's
that bad.
body type. I mean, he needs to put on at least 20 pounds to take some shots from the SEC.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Yes. That's how Nico was too. Nico
Yeah.
needed to
Yeah,
put on
I know.
weight.
I mean, I was here.
But to me, it may
we
not
don't have
end up that
time.
bad,
We don't
right?
have that time.
With Merkslinger, I'm calling him Merkslinger from here on in. It may not be that bad of an idea to go this route because you may actually find out like, oh, wow, we did actually recruit and develop a guy that wasn't from the transfer portal. And he actually ended up being just as good as what Nico was last year. And he saved my job.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like, I feel like the best path forward isn't your answer feels very improbable to be found in the transfer portal.
No.
I mean, what do you think, Jackson?
Only thing I would do with the portal, though, to Jackson's point
Yeah.
is I want a security blanket at least that I got a guy who can function the offense maybe and his body's already developed and buy me some time
And I'm
to get
fine with that.
McIntyre
It's
there.
the splitting of the reps that I have a problem with.
Oh well, no, he would come in saying you're going to compete. But splitting the reps mean you're somebody's going to be designated 1, 2. You're not going to split the ones right now at this point in time. If you don't bring in a high profile guy, I think they're going to understand it. Hey, you may be a 2. It may hurt McIntyre or whoever's the 3.
So, Zach, you said it's reported that an ACC and a Big 12 quarterback both have gotten raises.
Yeah,
because
it says quarterbacks. It didn't say. All it said was quarterbacks in the ACC and Big 12. I mean that could mean more than 2.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Right.
So Tennessee's been on the hunt.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that Tennessee. The only one they mentioned that Tennessee was connected to was Iowa State quarterback Rocco Becht, who has been rumored to be a Tennessee target.
Doesn't that tell you what you need to know? What they think internally about Jake Merklinger?
Well, I mean, but are you going to be okay if they go out and spend $4 million on another quarterback that's not Nico?
It's not my money.
Okay.
Whoa.
All right.
Oh.
You are correct. It is not your money. When we come back, we're going to talk about the most and least interesting things from the Tennessee Titans draft. Is cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 26 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we're now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always a blazer.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. I got so many questions that I just want to ask the audience. I'm just so curious. I'm curious as what you guys want the University of Tennessee to do. What's your preferred method? Do you prefer them to pay maybe $4 million for an Avery Johnson or Sam Levitt or a quarterback like that may be enticed by the $4 million? Would you rather them just roll with what they got and bring in a kind of journeyman backup? I can't believe we're actually using the term now, journeyman backup in college football.
Or a guy who's got some starting experience, but he's not high profile.
Right. I mean, and just let Merkslinger and McIntyre, battle it out. I mean, I want to hear from you. But I also want to hear what is the most and the least interesting thing about this Titans draft. And to me, the least interesting thing is the most obvious thing. That's Cam Ward's going number 1. And I don't even bother clicking on first-round mock drafts anymore, Blaine, because who cares? They're all picking Titans and Cam Ward.
I know. Well, Jim White came around and that definitely gave me a call. Cam Ward. I mean, come on, man.
I thought about just trolling him and just saying like some random name like Tyler Warren just to be different than everybody else.
I was thinking about still say trade out.
Yeah,
that's it's still a possibility.
You're still holding out hope. Hey, it would make draft night so much more exciting. Could you imagine the reactions? Because, of course, Titans Radio will be live on all the video channels. You can watch Titans Radio with Mac, Rhett, and Amy. And wouldn't it be wild just that they trade out? They trade out just to see their reactions?
Oh, man.
That would be wild. I would love it. I would love it. Listen. I'm a chaos. I thrive on chaos. Obviously, if you guys have listened to the radio at all this week, I just love chaos and drama. I would hate it that the Tennessee Titans don't have, Cam Ward as their quarterback. But if they traded back, it would be so fun.
I kept on saying there'd be percentages. There's always a chance.
Yeah.
Never know.
You never know. But that, to me, feels like the least exciting thing about this upcoming draft.
I know. Well, what's exciting, I know that's what we're going to talk about here, was really, for me, is see what happens with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
All the talk, all the chatter. Oh, he's going to drop here, he's going to drop there.
I just can't believe that he's going to drop.
I don't. They're talking like 20. I'm like, whoa. Man.
I think that's people wish casting in NFL league circles. Like, I think there's teams that are wanting him to fall so bad they're putting these stories in there.
Sanders?
No, they're wanting him. No, I'm saying there are NFL teams that are wanting him to fall to them.
So they can get him. Yeah.
And I think that they're putting this stuff out there. I just have a hard time. I look at the Saints and I'm like, you don't even know what's going on with Derek Carr.
Right.
And you're already linked a little bit to Shedeur Sanders. I feel like, man, I would be so surprised if he fell out of that top 10. I'd be shocked. Really. I still would be. Even after all the news and all the things. Because I look at the film and the tape is the tape. And I see an NFL quarterback. I do. Mm-hmm. And surely NFL teams see the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Bobby, who wants to talk about the Volunteers. Bobby, you're on Blaine and Zach.
I just have a hard time. Hello?
Hey, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Robbie.
Sorry, that's
Robbie. Start off by saying go Vols, and my opinion on the whole Tennessee thing with Nico and going into trying to find somebody in the portal. We drafted quarterbacks, Merklinger, and we didn't draft him, but we got Merklinger and George Mack. I don't understand why we can't work with those guys and develop those guys. And same thing goes for the Titans. You got Will Levis over there. Brian Callahan's supposed to be a quarterback guy. I mean, you give the guy one damn year and it's over. Go Vols, go Titans.
There you go. Thanks, Robbie. That was also my bad. It did say Robbie. Can't blame Jackson on that one. My eyes just played tricks on me. So that was definitely my bad on there. Listen, I'm with him. I think the best is just to go with what you got. Because Rocco Becht is obviously supposedly happy at Iowa State, as Pete Nakos just reported on 3. Avery Johnson from Kansas State is a guy that maybe you guys can lure over. But again, I'm saying if you're paying him $4 million, it was the principal enough. I mean, where's your principles now, right? If you were to pay him $4 million. Not saying you have to pay $4 million to get Avery Johnson, but like, where are your principles now in not wanting to put $4 million in a quarterback?
What's that quarterback? I really liked him. The guy from, I don't know his name, from Arizona State.
Sam Levitt.
Yeah, I like him. I think they should go after him.
Yeah.
They can play more than Arizona State. Go get him. That guy, he's a redshirt freshman, and he started and looked like that.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was like, besides the tank there at running back,
Yeah.
Scatterboo.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that guy was pretty good. Also, who was another kid there? There was another guy in the term. But yeah, I would go after him.
Just real quick, this is from Easton Freeze. I'm sure other people are reported. It's just the first guy that popped up on my timeline. He said the Titans will have a pre-draft press conference on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Chad Brinker, Mike Bergonzi, and Brian Callahan will all speak. We'll be carrying that here on 104.5 The Zone when they get up to the podium. A lot of people say Mike Wright, the guy that used to play at Vandy, he'd just be insurance at that point. Fant FB on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, F&M Bank Chat, Zone TV. I'm not convinced there's anyone available that can come in and learn the offense well enough to run it better than Merck or GMAC by the time season starts.
Right, and that's going to be the issue.
Yeah, it's going to be the issue. Let's go to Joe, who wants to talk Titans. Joe, you're on Blaine and Zach.
Hey, how you doing, fellows? Hey, I was calling in trying to maybe get people on board with Tennessee drafting Dante Thornton Jr. from the Vols to pair up with Cam Ward. I mean, a 6'5", 4'3", 40. That'd be our Randy Moss 2.0 of the future. What do you think?
I don't know about Randy Moss, Joe, but I do like Dante Thornton. But we have seen, the pass catchers that come from this offense don't really make much of an impact. So I think that if you're talking about, hey, if he's the second of your fourth-round picks, if he's a fifth-round pick, I'm cool with it. I love me some Dante Thornton and the upside there. There's just going to be a big learning curve for probably Dante Thornton. But that's just me assuming that because he's coming from the Tennessee office does not mean that it's actually true once you get him inside the building.
Well, he did, just the injury issues there. He ran the blazing 4.3, right? It was blazing. Now, that's going to catch some people, and it's going to get some owners and coaches like, hey, I think we should get this guy. I'm more concerned with how was his cone drills? What was his numbers? Because he's a tall guy, and if he can get in and out of his breaks, I know he had a limited route tree there at Tennessee. But if I see that he can run actually have more routes that he can run, I think that, oh, man.
So he's almost 6'5".
Right.
205 pounds, and he ran, or we know that what he ran as far as is 4.3 with a 1.51. The only problem is he did not do his agility testing.
See, and that's what I want to see.
And a lot of people opted out of the agility testing this year. All positions have opted out of the agility testing, but shuttle 3-cone, not there for Dante Thornton Jr.
Did he do them on UT's pro day, or was he there or not? Because that's really an issue for tall guys. They're easy to read. They have to drop their elbows and their hips. And so I'd love to see what he ran. If he ran...
He didn't do it at the pro day either. He stood on his combine numbers.
But he didn't do them there.
Well, no, but I mean, he stood on the. He's just like, I'm not doing any athletic testing.
And somebody's going to get him, but that would be a red flag for me.
Yeah,
I got to see more than that. Because the tree. I think he can do it, but I'd love to see those numbers.
Yeah, the Randy Moss comp is a little much.
No, that's way too much. But with Higgins, what was his?
T. Higgins.
Yeah, no, the Higgins from Iowa State.
Jaden Higgins. Give me 1 second.
Because he's a tall guy. 6'4".
He did a 4.28 in the shuttle. In the 3-cone, he did a 7.05, 7 seconds, which isn't necessarily bad.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about tenths of seconds, like Jalen Lane, the kid from Virginia Tech, wide receiver, really like Jalen Lane. He did a 6.75, which is I believe the fastest out of the wide receivers.
What's his height?
He is shorter.
Right.
Give me 1 second. So Jalen Lane.
They're going to have good numbers.
Yeah. He's 5'9".
Yes.
So, to not be that far off at 6'4",
right,
and to not be that far off from a 5'9" guy, that's pretty good.
That's what you start comparing the numbers. You can go, well, dang, that's pretty good for a tall guy.
I do think that Thornton is not going to go in the third round. I know a lot of people have talked themselves because of the combine into him being a day 2 pick. I think he's going to be a day 3 pick just because we saw that Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman, who had better years and better tape, go in the 3rd round. Dante Thornton going in that day 2 is a stretch in my mind. Yeah. No matter the size and athleticism, it is still all about the tape.
That 4.3 possibly, but likely not.
Yeah.
I'm with you, though, because they get fascinated with the 40 and they see a 6'4", they go, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
What and it was kind of a shock. I thought he was fast, but at 4.3, like he ran like a 4.32 or something. Like it was blazing. Like it was like, woo, man.
Yeah.
That guy was chugging. Like that's a whole nother level of a speed there. That
4.3 flat.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. He almost was at 40, and he's got a shot. He's got a shot at 3rd round because that's what Jalen Hyatt ran a 4.4. Remember, it was everybody was disappointed. Mm-hmm. And this guy's way bigger. So I think he got a shot. I think he's got a shot at 3rd round.
We'll
and
see.
It's a weak receiver, elite receiver.
Yeah.
Outside of, a handful of guys.
Where do you think he's going to go, Jackson?
It wouldn't shock me if the end of the 3rd round, but I think he's a day 3 guy. I think the middle of the 4th, I think honestly right where the Titans are picking in their 2nd, 4th round pick is a really good spot to take Dante Thornton.
That's where I think I would entertain it.
Ooh, I hope that does happen.
That's the 21st pick in the 4th round, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's about where Dante Thornton should go. And I think that's a perfect spot to take him.
Man, I tell you a guy that we haven't really talked a lot of. Well, we have, if you go back and listen to our wide receiver episode, but that Jalen Noel, the other Iowa State guy to Jaden Higgins.
The 4.3 guy.
Whew.
No,
man,
he can run.
He can run.
But
he's explosive.
But how many times did you see him make people miss?
Now on.
His straight line speed is off the charts.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But the 5'10" guy, I got to see wiggle. And I never really saw wiggle. It was always one cut and go. Almost like, a running back, run, cut, and go. Like, and that's the only thing because at that size, it's not going to be you're going to outrun everybody.
Well, but to be fair, Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, right? We're talking about these two players that, are both from Iowa State. Mm-hmm. Where, Rocco Becht is supposedly, was interested in. And now you take those two guys away and Rocco Becht would come to Tennessee. I wonder what he's actually is going to be. Mm-hmm. Here's my other question, though, because we talked about this topic just to rehash it. Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins are kind of that tier down wide receiver that you would consider at 35 if other players are not there. Mm-hmm. But when you have a guy like, again, I'm going to go to these, even though I don't think they're going to be there, but they are good representations of two players that may fall at not a position of need, and Donovan Jackson and Colston Loveland, who are likely going to be ranked higher on the board than these two guys. Do you go to the wide receiver because Cam Ward needs a wide receiver, or do you go to a tight end or an offensive lineman because you're building in the trenches or building for the future or whatever? So what do you think, Blaine? I mean, in that situation, if I were to tell you got a choice between take your pick of Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins and then Donovan Jackson, the guy from Ohio State that has played multiple positions and excelled at all of them, or Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, where are you going to go?
You said Ohio State. That guy went to TCU, didn't he?
No, you're thinking of I'm talking about the offensive lineman, Donovan Jackson.
Well, first of all, I'm going with the second pick. I'm going wide receiver.
No matter what?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's drafted for need, kind of.
Well, somewhat, but also hopefully I can get an elite player. First of all, the odds, I think, are really low when you draft a pass rusher in the second round that they become a 10-sack player. I don't know the numbers. You may want to look that up. But I think that number is a very low percentage. So I'm playing the percentage game. So the odds are up if I go after receiver. So that's what makes me say that. Me personally, I want to take a pass rusher.
Right.
But I think you got to play the odds, and you got to say I can get a impactful player at 35, a receiver more than likely or not at pass rusher.
Okay, I go to you. Go to you, Jackson. So I can look up these odds and stuff. Where are you at in that scenario? We got Donovan Jackson, Ohio State offensive lineman. He's the guy that kicked out to left tackle but played at guard, excelled at both. Or Colston Loveland, the tight end from Michigan, who neither of these guys will likely be there, but you never know. This is the draft. Or a Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins type receiver. That third, 2.5 third tier down.
I'm going Loveland. And that's because it provides a safety blanket tight end for your rookie quarterback, and they can grow and develop together. And I think that would be a really nice pairing. And although I wouldn't be opposed to Jackson as a guard, because Kevin Zeitler is probably not going to be here in 2026. So you're going to need a guard at some point. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but my first choice would 100% be Loveland.
Yeah, I think I would lean Loveland. I love Donovan Jackson personally, and so I love. Ooh, I'm gonna kill Stathead. I love everything about the idea of having Donovan Jackson, because if anybody were to get injured, you can sub him in. If Dan Moore doesn't live up to the opportunity, maybe you try Donovan Jackson at left tackle or something like that. But he's also insurance for Kevin Zeitler later. So this is a 2 to 3 year rebuild, and you need to find younger guys to build around. That he would be one of those guys. But I think I would lean Colston Loveland over Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins. But it would be close to me if Colston Loveland's off the board and I'm choosing between Donovan Jackson and one of those receivers. I'd probably go one of those receivers.
Yeah, Loveland's a heck of a player, man. It's kind of hard. I love what Jackson said there with the safety valve. And most young quarterbacks, especially first-year guys, usually got that safety valve, whether it's a tight end or a slot guy, somebody can lean into. But I know you guys. I like my man Higgins. I don't even think he's even ranked high like that.
He's been linked. Take it for what it's worth. These are mock drafts I'm talking about.
No, I got you.
But at 35, he's a very popular choice because if Luther Burden's off the board.
Now, but only thing about him is he's probably more outside because that's where you see him most of the time. But I saw him inside, too, and he was very productive and showed wiggle for a tall guy.
Right.
And that's why I go, man, this guy is a little more versatile than I expected. And he did it multiple times. And so I like him. I would take him if all the the top three guys are gone at receiver. I think I'm going there. I need a receiver. I need an impactful guy, and he's opposite of what Ridley is, and so I think that matches up.
Okay. Wow. Okay, since
you talking about this
is kind of crazy. Okay, since 2014.
Please tell me I'm right.
You're not only right, you're right more than you think.
What?
Since 2014, in their first season, any player, according to StatHead, which is Pro Football References whatchamacallit, in their first season who played defensive end or outside linebacker, so that this may exclude some defensive linemen,
Gotcha.
but I specifically put defensive end or outside linebacker in the regular season. Player was drafted since 2014 or later to now. In round 2, 10 sacks or more. Can you guess how many how many players there were?
Since 2014?
Since 2014.
3. Because it's a low number.
Jackson.
I'll double it. I'll go 6.
0.
Oh.
0.
See?
Because Jared Verse, this was the guy that kind of came to mind. Well, I mean, of course, he was first round. But, you talk about Jared Verse last year. He only had 4.5 sacks, and he won Defensive Player of the Year. Or Rookie of the Year.
You know what I leaned into on that? Who did we just let go?
Harold Landry.
Did he ever have 10 sacks? He did.
Didn't he get one year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Braden Fisk had 8.5 sacks, but still, that was an undersized defensive end. That's the guy they traded up for. He actually outperformed the other one. But isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah, I didn't know it was like that.
So defensive end or outside linebacker is what it has to say on when you're a professional football player. But in their rookie year, this is just a rookie year.
Right.
Never since 2014. What you got, Jackson?
So Landry in his rookie year had 4.5. He had 2 years of over 10 sacks in 2021. He had 12, and in 2023, coming off the ACL tear, he had 10.5.
Okay.
They got good stuff. Yeah, so that rookie year, that's why they're not
Right.
impactful. It's
Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Oh, man. I got lucky with that one.
Yeah, you did. You got more than lucky on that. That's kind of insane to hear. When we come back, we're going to tell you about Cam Ward's secret weapon that's not being discussed enough. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Jack.
Last call for phone calls here on Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons right here on 104.5 The Zone, where right here on 104.5 The Zone, you can hear the Titans pre-draft press conference with Mike Bergonzi, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan. 1 o'clock p.m., supposedly, Central Standard Time, the Lord's time. They'll be at the facility answering questions, doing a press conference, talking all things pre-draft. Maybe some things about L'Jarius Sneed and other questions like that I'm sure will be asked. So make sure you tune in right here on 104.5 The Zone to listen to that. And then, of course, we have the draft next week, draft coverage. You have Titans Radio will do day 1 and day 2 of the draft for radio listeners. And they'll also do, Titans Radio will also be on live feed over wherever you watch your 104.5 The Zone content as well. And then on Saturday, we won't be on the radio, which is probably a good thing with SEC regulations and stuff like that. FCC, that's what I meant to say. Probably SEC regulations, too. They probably don't want me to talk about Nico anymore. And it'll be me and Stoney with some special guests doing all day up until the Titans' last pick in the 6th round, talking about the draft. We call it the Draft Megacast. We need to get something for that. Megacast. I mean, we'll take a little bit of breaks.
Ooh, that's exhausting.
And all that kind of stuff. It is exhausting, but luckily the Tennessee Titans, Lord willing, does not have a 7th round pick, so we can leave after the 6th round.
Oh, they're getting one.
Yeah, they will just despite us. But the draft starts at 11 a.m. We'll go live at 11 a.m. We'll be with you all day until the Tennessee Titans' last pick. And Jay Wills Jackson will be behind the glass producing as well.
What if they traded for the Mr. Irrelevant pick?
Lord help us. We will be so
Why,
loopy.
do you have somebody in mind?
No, it's just despite Zach.
Despite
yeah,
you,
we'll be so loopy if we have to go the full. We struggled last year, and we did it from our homes, like respective homes online. Can you imagine the smells that are going to come from the podcast studio after we leave? We're going to have to bring some Lysol and stuff.
Oh, my.
Bring a candle, please.
Yes. All right. There is a secret weapon that Cam Ward has that I feel like everybody's a little either underrated or under-discussed. And I came across this tweet on my timeline recently. And Jackson, you got ready? Not asking for it yet, but just making sure you got ready. I sent it to Jackson. I came up with this, and I was like, man, I really feel like this is something that's really under-discussed. And this was Fran Duffy at F Duffy NFL on Ross Tucker's podcast on what probable top pick Cam Ward brings to an offense with his legs.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really twitchy athlete, extremely slippery in the pocket, and he can get out and create at a really high level. He's very comfortable throwing on the run. He's not always just looking to scramble when he takes off, but he certainly can make defenses pay. He's got 84 explosive runs over the course of his career. Now, obviously, this is a guy that started 57 games in his career, and so there's a long resume, a long runway there for him to create those explosives. But, you know, he had over 30 explosive runs this past year playing for Miami. He's a guy that can make defenses pay on the ground. You referenced Jaden Daniels. That was actually they're different players. I'm not saying that he's Jaden Daniels, but when you look at like the late game heroics, the ability to kind of put Miami on his back throughout the course of the season to just kind of pull them out of the gutter and will them to victory, much like what we saw Jaden Daniels do at Washington this year. I think Cam Ward has a little bit of that to him, and so and some of that happened with his arm, and some of that happened with his legs. But he is a very slippery athlete, and while I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, he's going to be what Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels have been, Josh Allen, you mentioned even like Drake May. I think May is probably a decent comparison. They're built differently, but I think when you're looking at the impact that he can have on the ground, probably similar to what Drake May did last year in New England.
84 explosive runs, which is typically 15 yards or more, over the course of his career. 30 of the 54 came this last season. Now, obviously, depending on your flavor of quarterback, you may not want your quarterback running that much, but I think the ability to gain crucial yardage with his legs has been a under-discussed trait. Now, we talk about his ability in the pocket, the ability to extend plays and scramble, but we never really talk about his rushing ability down the field.
Who would you compare him to as far as his running ability? Maybe not the same style, but let's just say maybe like speed outside the pocket. Because when I watch him, I look at him more of as a scrambler, not actually a runner. And you're saying this is a special trait. I saw he
A
said
secret weapon.
He said. Well, this guy that was talking there said twitchy. I don't know what he was talking about there.
I kind of think a more athletic Patrick Mahomes style runner.
Okay.
Now, not necessarily, and because I think that's the trait that reminds me the most of Patrick Mahomes, actually. I know a lot of people want to get crazy with their comps and stuff, but it's a guy that knows when to run, can make the decision, and will gain about 10 yards. And all of a sudden, he doesn't look fast, right? Patrick Mahomes never looks fast. Cam Ward particularly never looks fast.
Right. That's why I said the twitchy.
Yeah, but like Patrick Mahomes is all of a sudden he's down 10 yards down the field.
Right. He finds a way.
He finds a way.
Feel and pocket presence. I would say that would be the least straight. I
tell you what, this is a good one.
Elusiveness, though.
Here's a good one. And I really like this one. This one, Joe Blacko prompted the Mahomes one, but that's the already guy I was thinking of. But the real Mike Jones says Ryan Tannehill. I could kind of see a little bit of that. Ryan Tannehill's a little bit faster, but I kind of see.
Yeah, he's definitely faster.
Yeah, but
do you
I
think
feel like the style.
Cam Ward could have played wide receiver and started in the SEC? Because that's what Ryan Tannehill did.
I will say, I was going to say, well, Xavier Restrepo started, and he's not that fast, but.
Yeah. I don't know.
But, I mean, like a guy that's. A guy that's bigger that, again, Ryan Tannehill.
People underestimate. Ryan Tannehill was a really good athlete.
But when I'm talking about style of running, I'm talking about a guy, again, who kind of like Patrick Mahomes knew when to run. And Big Ben knew when to run.
Gotcha.
And so, I look at it from that perspective as like Lamar Jackson always knows when to run, but he's always looking to run, it feels like, right? I mean, is that underselling it?
I'm going to undersell him. I'm going to say he's a little better version than Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
As far as running.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Burrow doesn't want to run. I think he probably wants to run a little bit more once he gets outside the pocket. But he's always still looking to throw. That's one thing I like about him. He's still always trying to get the ball down the field. And if he has to, he is capable. I don't know how that's going to translate in the NFL, like how, elusive he will be. Because you also see him breaking tackles.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be able to break tackles like that. So he definitely is a strong kid. So
yeah, that's why I kind of feel like that Patrick Mahomes comp works a little bit as far as running style, because all of a sudden, I mean, look at Rashaan Evans in that one play that probably breaks everybody's heart listening to it.
Oh, man.
But he's done that to many defenders. And it's just like all of a sudden you think you got him, and then he just does this little move. He's like, boop. And then he picks up an extra 5 yards, and then he's out of bounds. And sometimes he's faking being pushed out of bounds. Maybe Cam Ward needs to pick that trade up, too.
Hey, they're comparing his launch angle, so why not do everything else?
Dak Prescott, maybe Dak Prescott could be one that could be out there. I don't really have a lot of Dak Prescott scrambles in my head or runs in my head.
Right. See, that's kind of how I view him. Like more so like that. Yeah, because he's not a runner, but he can run.
Right. And I think that's what you want, right?
I do.
I want a guy that can at least, because I know there's been a lot made to do about Shedeur Sanders' athleticism. Of course, it's obviously not on his dad's level, but he's still athletic. But like at the end of the day, you want a guy that can do both, and you want that guy that when the need arises, he's all of a sudden 10 yards down the field. And whether that's by speed or technique or decision-making, doesn't matter in my opinion. Just get down the field.
Yeah, he's capable.
He's capable. Well, that will do it for us. We've had a fantastic week here on Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. We'll see you all on Monday. 3HL's up next. I have Pete Nakos of On 3 Sports. You broke the Nico transfer news. But in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.